From BQE Restaurant and Lounge in the heart of Atlanta's historic Martin Luther King District, it's Newsmakers Live, bringing you the issues, politics, and perspective of the Atlanta community. Now in its 10th season, here is tonight's moderator and your host, 8-time Emmy Award-winning broadcast journalist, Mr. Maynard Eaton.
I agree with Jim Welcome. This is a momentous occasion because this young lady has been the front runner for not only this campaign, but this time 8 years ago, you were the front runner as well.
Yes, didn't quite get to the finish line 8 years ago. Didn't quite.
It was a horse race. It was a photo finish.
It was.
Will it be again this time?
Well, I certainly think we've got 5 weeks to go. We have a week before the general election, and then there will clearly be a runoff when you have over a dozen candidates to choose among. There clearly will be a runoff, and so then we shall see who's in the runoff, and then that will be 4 weeks. So November 7th and then December 5th.
How does it feel, though? What does it require of you to maintain that energy, that pace, that whatever, the ooh la la, to be number one 8 years ago and then number one again this time around? I mean, what is it about you?
Well, Maynard, I say that it's 25 years of work. I started working for neighborhoods throughout the city beginning in the late 80s, early 90s. So it has truly been 25 years of work. And people know when you care about them, and they don't forget when you've done something for them. So that comes with a lot of support across the entire city. Then you add on top of that a very expensive in 2008 and 09 mayoral campaign, a lot of television, a lot of radio, and so people do know who you are. So we know in politics that name recognition and identity makes a difference, but it also, what really has resonated in this campaign, just like the last one, are all the people that said, Mary, you were here for me. I was at a neighborhood gathering last night, and one of the co-hosts said, Mary, it was 1992 when you were in our neighborhood and you did X. And he had never forgotten that. Wow. And that's why he was one of the co-hosts last night.
Wow, that's incredible. I looked before you arrived and when we were preparing for this show, I looked across the street and your campaign staff was scurrying about putting campaign signs up across the street. But so was Peter Amon's campaign team. Are you two locked in a dead heat to become perhaps Atlanta's first white mayor in 43 years?
Well, we don't know. Certainly, Peter has run a very enthusiastic campaign. He has been able to put his own money in, and congratulations for someone who has that ability. I actually don't. I'm married to a pediatrician, not a thoracic surgeon. It's really different, the amount of money you take home at the end of every day. But good for him. Good for him.
But I mean, are you two locked in a battle, you think? Or
No, because my support comes from across the entire city. I am the only candidate, as of every single poll, that is in double-digit support, both on the north side and on the south side. When you look at a map of where my yard signs are across the city, they're in every single council district, every single zip code, every single NPU. So it is truly a very inclusive campaign, which is what I think sets this campaign apart.
Mary, I have to tell you this. I've known you for a while. I always enjoyed talking to you. But my wife and I moved from Buckhead to the south side. And when we moved down the street the first time, we were amazed at Mary Norwood signs. This is a black neighborhood. Mary Norwood signs, Peter Amon signs, Mary Norwood signs. I'm going, what is this? This is a black Atlanta. Something's changed in this town, has it not?
Well, Maynard, I think several things have changed. Number one, we are really truly now an international city in an international region. And so as I have been out campaigning, I have been with so many different groups from so many nationalities, as well as our traditional African American and, the way that we've traditionally talked about the city. Here's what I think is really important. In 20th century Atlanta, we earned the admiration of the world because of how we handle civil rights. Yeah. I look at this election as being the 21st century version, and it will be important for us not to play this out in racial terms. It will be really important, and I know some of that starts around the edges, but for Atlanta to take its place and to continue its place on the world stage, this needs to be an election where everyone votes for everyone. Certainly you have different groups that vote more for someone who seems more like them. But what I have always said is that when people know you, and when I'm out in neighborhoods, and we have seen the diversity in neighborhoods, and I talked about this the other night, whether I'm in Westview, whether I'm in Kirkwood, whether I'm in Adams Park, whether I'm in my own neighborhood of Tuxedo Park, there's diversity in every one of those neighborhoods. And so we have really moved beyond just the old divisions. And I would hope that our politics will become as good as our people.
So race should not be the factor it has been or once was.
No, I really don't think so. And I think the reason that I have strong support, and again, double-digit support, is because I have worked for communities across this entire city. And I have done it for a very long time. And I am devoted to everyone across this entire city. There's just a real connection of service.
How have you managed to bridge this gap? I mean, people think it's unlikely, but you are liked across the board.
Well, I care about the people. And I care very much about everybody in the town and what their quality of life is. My campaign has been focused on what do you see when you get up every day? Is your street, are the potholes still in your street, or have we made that better? Is the abandoned house out of your neighborhood? Have we made that better? Is the trash off the street? Have we made that better? Are the city services better for you? Is your water bill finally being adjusted correctly? With me, it is about, I have said, we've had a sewer mayor, we've had a real estate mayor. I want to be the community mayor.
Is that a new line? That's good.
It's mine.
Mary, you asked those questions to various neighborhoods, but I would imagine the answers to your questions are no, things have not been better.
That's right.
But you've been on the council, though.
Well, that is correct. But we have a strong mayoral form of government. And the mayor controls, mayor has to count to 8. You have to get 8 council members to agree with you on legislative issues. I understand that. But the mayor, beginning with Mayor Jackson, we have a strong mayoral form of government. The mayor controls all city services, all employees, and all contracts. So truly a lot of making the big changes rest in the administration. It's the CEO of the city. Yeah. And because of that, Maynard, I'd like to take a minute and tell people about my business background, because so many people don't know that.
Your radio work.
My radio work. When I came to Atlanta from Augusta, and I was at Emory University, graduated, eldest of 6 children, and my father had 5 more to educate. So I got out of college, and you're on your own. So I did what all of us do. I got a job. And I got a job in a radio company as the receptionist secretary for the top 5 men in the company, all men. Within 5 years, I was the chief operating officer and running 7 radio stations before I was 30 years old. Now, I then went on. We sold those stations for some of the highest prices south of Washington, D.C., and we all remember the day when there was no cable, there was no internet, there was no Facebook.
Many of them don't, but I do.
It was only radio and television. And then we were in media brokerage. I was the first woman in the National Association of Media Brokers and the first woman president of that National Association. I got my real estate broker's license, and I was a principal real estate broker. We then had a radio station in Roswell, Georgia. It's 107.5. And then I left and then I went to City Hall, and my life changed forever. I left the radio business, started working for neighborhoods, and developed one of the very first robocall businesses in the country before email, before there was any way to communicate with people, and really did some important work fighting the doubling of the Live Oak landfill in southeast Atlanta, fighting the Utoy Tunnel, which was a transfer of sewer capacity to south side from north side. It was some really important work back in the 90s. Now, I want to go back to radio 1 second. our company had one of the first chains of rhythm and blues stations in the country, in the Southeast and beyond. And the story that I told the other day was that Monica Kaufman got her start on our station in Louisville, Kentucky, and WLOU AM. Oprah Winfrey got her start on our station in Nashville, Tennessee, WVOL AM. And in Cincinnati, our station there, WCIN, was the original station of Jack the Rapper. And so I actually knew Jack. He had a rap sheet, and a rap sheet wasn't lyrics. A rap sheet was
record.
It was the record, right? Exactly. We are dating ourselves a lot.
You're a lot younger than me, Mary.
And the last story, and this one is the most fun. Back to WLOU in Louisville. Back in the day, you could only have 5 radio stations. It was called concentration of control. You could not own more than that because there were only those airways. So my boss, the owner of the company, wanted to purchase another station, and so he needed to sell one. So he called up his communications attorney, and it was a guy named Vince Pepper in Washington, D.C. Everybody had an attorney in Washington. So he called up Vince, and he said, "Vince, you need to buy my radio station in Louisville, Kentucky." He said, "Because you'll be the only communications attorney in D.C. who'll own a radio station and know exactly how everything works. It'll help your career forever." And Vince said, "Okay," and they talked about how much he wanted for it. And he said, "Now, you need to have Bill Summers as your co-owner, as your partner." And Vince said, "Bill doesn't have any money." And Robert said, "Exactly. He has no money. You need to buy the radio station. You need to give half of it to Bill Summers, who was the general manager, and because you're going to be in D.C., and you need a general manager who's an owner, who's watching that station." Bill Summers was the unofficial mayor of Louisville, Kentucky for years and years, and he was one of the first African-American owners of a radio station. That was us.
You helped engineer that, you said.
No, it was before my time, but it was right before my time, and I certainly knew Bill, and he was doing an outstanding job and just a sterling gentleman and consummate professional.
So in a sense, you're saying you went from a broadcasting career to now a community activist and a council person. That helped fuel your political career?
Well, I think I certainly understand media. I understand the power of media. I understand marketing. I understand communications. So my background has essentially prepared me for this. And all of my years of working for neighborhoods across the city certainly prepared me for this.
Where do we go now in the city? Mayor Norwood, I might be calling you that.
Let's.
You like that?
Not yet.
I said maybe in a month.
Not quite.
It seems like not only is it a tale of two cities, but it seems like we're at a crossroads here. Where are we going, you think? Is this a new era, or we have some very serious problems to deal with?
I think we are at a wonderful point in the city's history and in its future. The next mayor needs to be very thoughtful and very focused on how we bring 800,000 new people into the city, because that's a projection. So what we've had essentially is the tale of two cities. We've had a third of the city that has seen development and redevelopment, and 2/3 of the city that have not. All of these areas are where I've had support and have support. So what do we need to do? Well, when you look at the neighborhoods, the South Side neighborhoods and North Side neighborhoods mirror each other. I've talked about that for years. And so, but we haven't done a good job of marketing them. And we've got two major things that are going on that are holding them back, in my opinion. One is we have all the abandoned buildings, both houses and apartment buildings, that came from not only predatory lending, and we know there was plenty of that in the mid-aughts, but also mortgage fraud. The zip codes 30310 and 30314 were in the top 10 zip codes for mortgage fraud in the late aughts. And that was terrible. It absolutely wiped out, not entire neighborhoods, but literally just damaged them. But the people are still there, and we haven't been able to do anything with the abandoned abandoned houses. When I came back on city council and saw that we still hadn't addressed the issue, I created, along with another council member, the Code Enforcement Commission. We went to the state capitol 2 years running. We now have changed the state law, so for the first time ever, the city can take an abandoned, blighted property, get it to the land bank, and then be able to have it repurposed and reused for affordable housing for school teachers, for firefighters, for policemen, for city workers, and for long-term residents and their descendants who may want to live in the community they grew up in.
As mayor, you can and you will make that happen?
Yes. It is absolutely. I understand that different parts of the city have different needs. When you have an area that's seen no economic development, you've got to do the basics. And the basics are you've got to clean it up. I have been a clean city person for a long time, and so I am focused on making sure that we are every single part of this city is ready for the redevelopment that's going to come. Now, Maynard, I know you're going to say, what about the people that live there now?
Exactly.
I knew it. Here's what.
You've been in broadcasting, you know.
Here's what's important. The new commissioner has a wonderful plan for Atlanta that I absolutely ascribe to. His plan is neighborhoods are conservation areas. They will be protected. They're where our green canopy is. They provide such benefits, both physical and emotional in this city. We're the city of neighborhoods. We're the city of in the forest. So what we will do is develop along the commercial corridors. You and I both know you've got all these fingers that go on the west side. Right. You've got Bolton Road, you've got Hollowell, you've got MLK, you've got Cascade, you've got Campbellton, and then you've got at the edge of the city, Camp Creek. You've got Metropolitan, north and south. You've got James Jackson, north and south. And so all of these areas have places where there are shopping centers that were built years ago and a lot and space that we can actually put mixed-use development. We can connect, and the Beltline is great. The Beltline is wonderful, but it's the eastern side of the city, and it's only 45 neighborhoods out of 252. So there's a whole lot of the rest of the city that we need to provide the connectivity, the redevelopment, and do no displacement. We can do that rewriting the zoning code, rewriting the tree ordinance, and making this city absolutely shine everywhere. It's my vision, and I'm going to implement it.
You are so effervescent and so positive, but you're also ubiquitous. You're everywhere. And you hear the fears of people who think they're going to be priced out, moved out, and this city will abandon them. That's the fear I hear gripping many folks, black and white, but mostly blacks, who feel like there will be no place for them left.
Well, let's analyze it. What are the drivers that have you priced out? Because it's not that you're there and new amenities are coming in. It's three things. Number one, did your property taxes go through the roof? And that's why I got very focused and got the resolution from City Council delivered to the Fulton County Commission to request that they reject that digest, because it was absolutely going to be the most egregious step that any elected group of officials had ever taken to allow people's property taxes to go up 50, 80, 120%. That is moving anybody out at any income bracket, because it's an unrealized asset. We make no money off of our homes. So, number one, it's property taxes. And I have already said that I will go to the state legislature and get our city's taxes capped at 2 or 3%. This is unfair at every socioeconomic level in the city. So we need to do that. So the first thing is taxation. The second thing is home repair. And I brought with me the Housing Opportunity Bond proceeds, where we are literally putting money into building new affordability, but also having down payment assistance and owner-occupied rehab so that we can help people fix up their homes. Because if you have limited means and you aren't able to fix up your home, then you have to leave because it's no longer livable. The third thing is, if you take the offer that some aggressive person comes to your door and
Predator, you mean?
convinces you that you should take this offer so that they can have your home. There was not a good enough job done. Again, communications is my background, in saying to people, no, just because you have never heard a number that big before, don't take it. You're here. The world is changing. As long as we can make your expenses and your quality of life okay, we can renovate your house. We can help you renovate your house. We can keep your taxes low. Then what you've got is a wonderful changing environment, but you are not personally affected. When you took the offer for $80,000 and you can't get back in for less than $150,000, then
a smart move.
Well, but you didn't know. And I'll give you an example. Recently,
how can you help change that as mayor for people to
let me explain to you how. There was a seminar about a year and a half ago that was on ways to help people renovate their homes, and it was around the South Side Beltline area. And I heard, I wasn't part of it because it was administration, but we got a flyer about it. And I said, so at the next committee meeting, I said, how are we promoting this? How are we making people aware of this? And the administrative person said, we're putting it on the city's website. And I said, how else are you promoting this? They said, it's going to be on Channel 26. And I'm thinking, okay, I know where this area is, and I know that there are many, many older, wonderful Atlantans who have neither cable nor website access. I said to my staff, go to the copy machine, print up 2,000 copies, and we paid people to go out and put a flyer on every homeowner's door within a 1.5-mile radius of where that seminar was, the area that was being addressed. So we met people where they were, and that's what's important. You may or may not come to the seminar, but you clearly wouldn't have known about it had it only been on the website and the cable channel.
You mentioned previously that the world is changing, but so too is Atlanta, as you admitted. Are we at a pivotal point here in Atlanta? And why do you want to be mayor now at this time?
Because I believe that I uniquely bring the city together. I believe that with my support across the entire city and my focus on transparency and accountability. I mean, people know that for 25 years they have trusted me to help their community, to help their neighborhood, to help our city. So that trust, right now we're a little afraid downtown, and we don't know what's going to happen. We know that we've already had, I just think it's just so sad that we would have a city where people's actions would be called into question, people would be indicted. It's terrible. We have a Department of Justice. They are at City Hall. They will make whatever decisions they will make.
You've been there too. You know right from wrong better than maybe anybody.
I have. When you're on council, it's like the Congress versus the president. The Congress, we are the legislative body. We are not part of any of that that has been transpiring. We are not part of the procurement process. We see after it's all done. I actually got thrown out of the procurement office many years ago when I was trying to get information. So it is not something that we've been part of. It's going to be very important for the next mayor to make sure that all of the politics are out of our processes. I will bring in a new procurement director who has been the procurement director of a publicly traded company where every single procurement was scrutinized and reviewed by the public. I will make sure that we have an audit of all of our funds. I will make sure that we know that we start building the budget from the ground up, and I will make sure that all of our transactions are online. All of the expenses, all of the checks, all of the contracts, all of the city services. Our citizens are going to know what is going on at City Hall.
It sounds improbable, but just saying you're going to get politics out of politics.
I am, because a city government does not create money. We take people's money and we use it. It is the citizens' money. They deserve, you all deserve to know how it's being spent, what we're doing with it, because that's how you keep the trust of citizens. It's also important that people know where services are and where they're not. With all of our technology now, send me a picture of a pothole. Let me know. I'm already putting together a neighborhood cabinet of a person from each neighborhood to have a direct connect to me, because the neighborhoods know where the worst blighted house is. The neighborhoods know where the sinkhole is. The neighborhoods know where the trash hasn't been picked up and where there's illegal dumping. So I want a direct conduit to all the communities across the city. We've already put together about 2/3 of them. We're working for the last third.
And Mary, you well know cynics going to say, how can she do that? Can she really do that? Or is she just campaigning? Cynics would say that. What do you say?
I would say, look at my works. I've been out there 25 years. Look at what I've done.
Yeah, you're good at this. 8 years ago, you came within a hair. What's your report card on the man who did best you? What's your report card on Mayor Reed?
I am going to let history judge him, just as history will judge me, just as history's judged every mayor.
That's awfully nice. Is this your time? Is this your moment? Will you be our next mayor?
I hope so. Please vote. Please vote for Mary Norwood. If everybody will vote for me, I can serve you and bring a new day to our city of Atlanta for all communities, all neighborhoods throughout the city.
Is turnout a major problem? Her name is Mary Norwood. She's as good as it gets with regard to community politics and community representation. My partner endorsed her last time. Jim, welcome. Here's the microphone.
All right. You notice he said, my partner endorsed her last time. He works for Newsmakers Live. Newsmakers Live endorsed her last time. I endorsed her way before Newsmakers Live. Let me tell you what Mary did to me. I came down here, cynical Afro-American male. I was a little white woman, want to be mayor. So she grabbed me by the arm and pulled me into this room. I'm already afraid. The white woman's taking me in the room. I'm scared. But anyway, she showed me this map. It was really amazing. I was like stunned. She showed me this map, and she went through every single community on that map. I was amazed. Places I didn't even know existed in this town. I was like, oh, yeah, that is there, isn't it? And she explained to me literally the major concern of each of those communities. That really impressed me. I went back and I told my wife, I said, that lady is sincere as I've seen in politics. And more importantly, she knows the terrain. That's most of what it takes to be a good leader. The difference between leaders and managers are leaders go up in the trees and direct you to where you have to go. Managers just determine how you get there. Ladies and gentlemen, Mary Norwood is a leader. She needs to be our next mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Thank you, John.
This has been Newsmakers.